So I'm going to ask you, if you could wave a magic wand and remove one challenge you're currently facing in growing tailored retreats, what would it be? Just for some ideas like education, visibility, time, systems, or something completely different.
I mean, all of the above, which would be my answer. But no, if I had to pick one thing, it is visibility. Wellness has boomed, especially wellness travel has boomed in the last sort of year.
Yeah.
When I started out, there were probably like a handful of wellness travel brands. That came to mind. Now they're popping up left, right, and centre. And so trying to get visibility when there's already so much noise, that's tough.
Hello. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Travel Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Gemma Zinyama, the founder of Travel Insights AI, where we explore the stories, strategies, and shifts that are shaping the future of travel. So today's conversation is especially timely, and we're talking about where tourism is headed and why the answer isn't just posting more on social media. So today I'm joined by Amisha Patel, the founder of Tailored Retreats. And Amisha brings a background in corporate travel and has made some very intentional shifts in the travel space and into the wellness retreat space, a niche that is massively growing, evolving, and it's not without its challenges. So Amisha, welcome to the podcast. It's really great to have you here.
Hey, Gemma, it's very, very nice to be here as well.
Thank you so much. So to start us off, and for anybody that is hearing about you for the first time, how would you describe Tailored Retreats and who are you creating experiences for today?
I see so many wellness retreats out there, for groups, for individuals. But what I really do is focus on tailor-made wellness retreats. So that is people who come to me and they go, I'm really struggling with sleep and I've been struggling with sleep for years and I just can't figure out why, or I'm struggling with hormone imbalance, or it might just be chronic stress. There might be a very specific set of symptoms, but they don't actually know what it is. And what I do is I find the perfect retreat for them, which will encompass a bunch of body treatments and a bunch of lifestyle changes and diet recommendations to really help them kickstart changes that they need to alleviate their symptoms on a long-term basis. And that's essentially what I do in a nutshell.
It's incredible. I think people don't realize how much you need to be feeling good internally to be able to perform externally.
So true. It's all connected. And I think this is where I love travel. I've been passionate about travel my whole life. And when I started as a travel agent, even though I knew I wanted to go into wellness travel, I sold all kinds of travel because I was a new business. I wanted to start out, just learning. But I realized the clients that come back from a wellness retreat, they don't have the same sense of holiday blues. Like they've come back full of energy, full of excitement for this path ahead of all these things that they've learned whilst they were away.
Yeah,
Whereas the people that come back off more traditional holidays, there's some serious like holiday blues there.
absolutely. You've deliberately focused and narrowed your focus to wellness retreats. So what prompted that shift? And I would ask, what did you start noticing in the market that made you think this is where I exactly want to be?
So I'd basically done the corporate travel thing when I first graduated. And then I worked more so in corporate marketing. And years after year of hitting these goals, I still just felt really unfulfilled. There was a sense of like, there must be more out there. And I didn't really do anything about it. I sat on that feeling for a few years because when you have stability, it's kind of hard to break away from that.
I agree.
And then the pandemic hit. And just before the pandemic, I had been struggling with a bunch of health issues that I couldn't quite understand myself. At the time, I had a 3-year-old son. He's now 8. But I was going for a really tough burnout period at work. And I said to my husband, I was like, we need to book a last minute getaway just somewhere. I just need to get away. And we booked something in January 2020. And I remember it wasn't meant to be a wellness retreat. But when I got there, the first thing I did was at the spa, book myself in for a massage just to sort of unwind. And when I got to the spa, there was this Ayurvedic doctor there, and she headed up the spa. And we just got chatting, and I told her, I've been having these issues for about 3 years now since I had my son. Doctors can't help. Antibiotics are not helping, if anything, making things worse. And she just listened, and then she gave me some advice. And she said, look, whilst you're here for the next 7 days, do you want to work with me on some body treatment? So like certain massage works and certain I guess exercises as well. Do you want to work with me on your diet plan for the next week? Do you want to work with me on understanding the cause of stress and some of your symptoms? And I was like, hell yeah. Why would I say no to that? And so we did. We worked together for this sort of week that I was there. And then when I came back, I started adopting all this advice that she'd given me, and I carried it on. And Gemma, I kid you not, within sort of 3 months, I was all my symptoms, all my issues just gone. I dropped 2 stones. Yeah, 2 stones. I dropped 2 stones. It was just so life changing. And I think that is what made me go, right, if I'm ever going to do something in terms of breaking away from this corporate world that I'm not loving, it's hard when you're working full time. And so I spent a year, probably like less than a year, researching, just under a year, researching the travel industry, what I wanted to do. And I did a bit of research. There was a lot of appetite for wellness travel.
Yeah.
And I think coupled with my own experience and seeing that there was a demand for that and seeing how much people were suffering during the pandemic with mental health, I was like, it's a no-brainer. This is where I want to go into. So I built my brand all around tailored retreats, which is all about wellness travel. It oozes wellness, or at least that was the goal. And I think it does. However, like I said, when I started out, I was relying on my network, and my network were coming to me with family holidays, honeymoons, whatever it was. And so I was like, yeah, I'll start off doing that. And I did that for about 3 years. And then finally, I'm now in a place where I can focus more so on wellness. So yeah, it's a combination of looking at the trends and
Yeah.
seeing what's going on there, but it's also just been knowing what I'm passionate about, knowing what's worked for me, knowing what I've spent the last few years really training myself up on. And it's always kind of like a build it and they will come. And I feel like that's what's happened. I sort of built this brand around wellness travel, and I'm slowly attracting more people in that niche so I can do fewer of the more general tourism and the corporate travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. And I guess like you had to let go of a few things in order to niche down, but it's completely fulfilling because not only has it transformed your life, you see the benefit in it helping others. So
Absolutely.
it's like, so yeah, I think I'm really impressed by how you've been able to, was it commute or translate that to other
Yeah.
people's experiences? It's like you're spreading the joy through
I
like
love
positive travel. It's not just a sale. You're not attached
There
to
you
a
go.
sale. You want to
There you go.
genuinely help people.
Spot
So
on.
I'm really inspired by that. Thanks for sharing. So just moving on, I think when you look at tourism now, UK and abroad, especially post pandemic, what
Yeah.
shifts are you seeing in traveler behavior, expectations, and priorities for people?
I've noticed people really feeling the financial side of things, and it's tough, and people still want to travel. From everyone I'm speaking to, it's not going to become less of a priority for 2026, but they're having to force the way they travel to accommodate for their budget. That's the biggest thing that I'm noticing. And it's more about less of the sort of the full on luxury vibe, more intimate, boutique style properties that I guess come with a slightly lower price point in some cases without having to compromise on that service, that personal touch. I'm noticing more people are opting for authentic experiences. So again, a lot of my clients, especially when I first started out, it was about the fly and flop. And by that, anyone who's listening who's that was a fly and flop. It's literally when you go there, you don't really leave the resort. You're sort of there for a week and then you come home. And I'm noticing more people going, yeah, I do want to unwind, but actually I want to make sure that I'm making time to do things outside of resort life. I want to go and meet local communities. I want to go on a waterfall trek. I want to explore nature or immerse myself in something arty or crafty. Like, I am seeing more of that. And that's music to my ears because I find that kind of travel so much more exciting to sell. So that's what I'm noticing a lot of. I'm also noticing a lot of families who, in order, I guess, to maybe get over that financial barrier of, travel is so expensive, they're opting for shorter trips in cities. So the amount of clients I had this year kind of going to the likes of Switzerland to, Tuscany, not so much a city break there, but, just shorter, closer to home, a few nights as opposed to a full on week. I'm seeing a lot more of that.
That's great to hear as well. And I guess maybe some people are thinking about their carbon footprint as well and
Mhm.
not traveling so far unnecessarily at a huge cost
Yeah.
when they can actually go much closer to home. So
Yeah.
that's really interesting to hear. We've also been speaking to people that have spoke about multi-generational trips as
Yeah.
like post-pandemic have become huge. And I know
Yes.
we took my mum on the Disney cruise this year
Love
and
that.
she absolutely loved it, and we're just trying to make as many memories as possible
Yeah. Yeah.
ever. And so
Yeah.
we did want to do holidays. I think we were fly and flop people before, but now we're definitely looking. I know, a cruise is an experience in itself, especially as
It
people
is.
that weren't cruisers before. And now my husband's come off with like Disney is the person that's the hardest to convert.
There too. Yeah.
Yeah, I said to him, "You really don't need to come on this trip. I can take the kids with my mum. It will be great." And he was like, "No, I'm coming. Like, I'm absolutely coming."
I love that. I really do
I'm
love that.
laughing. But experiences genuinely are shaping a huge part of the industry, not just like the social media, need to go there and get a
Yes.
photo, like really feeling
Yeah.
internally good about themselves. So there's so
Yeah.
much that you can cover with that, with your business, which is just extraordinary.
Yeah. I love
So
it.
yeah,
I think with
that's brilliant.
the social piece as well, what's really tricky about that is I find people, you're right, are wanting to move away from traveling just for that big money shot, and I think people trying to break that habit, but it's a really tough habit to break. And from the content I'm seeing, it's not letting up anytime soon. People still feel the need to kind of get their phone out and get that money shot. But I think as a business owner, it's my gripe and also my challenge that I welcome to try and help shape the way people travel through posting about the places that do offer those sort of enriching experiences, the places that are built with sustainability in their DNA. They sort of didn't just think of sustainability after the fact. It was right from conception. Like, how are we going to incorporate it in everything we do? And the more of those types of properties I can share with my clients on social media, hopefully it's a knock-on effect because they'll travel there. It will be less about the more overhyped places that are suffering from over tourism. It will be about the more authentic places that people are looking for.
Yeah,
That's what
I
I'm
hear
really
you. No, that's great. And I know one of the biggest beliefs in the industry right now is if bookings are slow, we just need to post more on social media. So I'd really love your perspective on this. From experience, why do you think more social posts isn't the full solution, especially for higher touch offerings like wellness retreats that you do?
So it's actually really interesting you say this. Did not use social media much for the first 3 years of my business. We're talking that one post,
Really?
yeah, once every 3 months, and that's because as an individual, I've never been much of a social media user. I was one of those, joined Facebook in 2010, left by 2013, didn't really get on to the likes of Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. I just wasn't one of those people. And then when I launched my business, I had the platforms there, I had everything ready, but I just wasn't actively using them. And I look back at some of my older content and I was like, God, it was so it's lacked real thought. It was just posting for the sake of posting. And actually, where most of my business came from, it was that personal touch. It was my network. It was, leaving the corporate world and going, hey guys, I am doing this thing, and having the backing of people behind me, and then sharing, word of mouth. All of that stuff is what was so much more powerful for me than social media ever was. And it's only now that I'm in this niche space that I feel I need to broaden my audience beyond just my network. And that's why I'm now back sort of exploring what can social media do for me. But being really honest, Gemma, I don't get many inquiries from social media. I get a lot of, it sounds awful, vanity metrics. People might engage, people might, but inquiries less so. And even when I do get inquiries, they're not the ones that are more likely to convert. And so this is, I guess, in answer to your question, I think there is a role for social media. And going back to what I said before, I think there's this opportunity to post about the sustainable places and try and shape travel and try and shape where people go for the better of the industry. In terms of it helping with business, I see it more as proof point, and that's probably gonna yeah, a lot of people probably listening to that and be like, that's just because you're not doing it right. Maybe, but my
No.
method is more, yeah, that personal touch. I think I've got other avenues. I do a lot of exhibiting at shows, for example, a lot of wedding shows for honeymooners, for example, wellness shows.
That's
Again,
great. If that's where you feel more authentic, I just
yeah,
think that's a great
yeah.
point to touch on. I don't think there's one size fits all,
No, there
and
isn't.
where
There isn't.
you thrive and flourish, someone else might be better. I find myself better online. It's
Yeah,
just because that's been my breeding ground. I
yeah,
remember even, like, back in the day, completely off topic, where I would go out clubbing, I would take a disposable camera. I've always been that person
yeah.
capturing moments, whereas you might have been my BFF that was just happy to, like, just, like, receive the
There
goods
you
and
go.
be like,
There you go.
I'm fine with that, Gem. So, yeah, there
Yeah,
are so many different characters, and I think
there
you're
are.
presenting so much value to people listening, because for those people feeling the online pressure,
Yeah,
actually, you've just gotta go
it's
where
all
it
right.
suits you, as long
Yeah.
as you find that it's working for you.
Exactly. And I have a little tip because I struggle because I'm not a social media user sort of in my personal life to have to do it for business. I do find it a bit of a challenge. And, I'm envious of the likes of you where you find sort of snapping just very natural, whereas I find it almost like, God, I need to capture this, otherwise I'm gonna get home and be like, "Oh, I didn't get anything." And I find it really difficult because it's not second nature to me, and I'm lucky. My husband, he's great at it, and so he captures a lot when we're away, so I don't have to worry about it. But I've now got a sort of a rule for myself, which is, yes, get the pictures and sort of get your content, because as a travel agent, you can't afford not to have that, but limit myself. So I will, if I've just done a really long hike and I've got to the top and there's the sun's about to rise, I'm like, right, that's a fleeting moment. So I can choose to capture it here or I can choose to capture it through my eyes. What am I going to do? And I will literally take like two, three snaps and then that's it. Like whatever it turns out like, it's fine. And then that way I'm not beating myself up. I'm not feeling that pressure, which I think so many people do. But I do. I envy the likes of you, Gemma, the people that can just do it and it's second nature to them. I wanna learn how to do that without
I
feeling
wanna
the
unlearn it. I think balance was a great word that you used there. Sometimes I'm on taking 15 pictures of something that only required 2. So, that's the perfectionist side of me, but again, it's like people are into authenticity.
yeah.
So if there is a finger or something hanging out in the
Hey.
picture, I
Yeah.
think it's just gotta go out now. So I've become a lot more relaxed, but, I think we're yin to yang, so I'd love to, pick up I'm taking a lot of tips because I would like to bring in more attributes of the calm side in
Yeah.
2026, instead of feeling like you're always having to be on the go. So
I
on
get
our
that.
holidays, I've typically been like, okay, maybe the morning or a couple of hours can be about, capturing content for work or
Yeah.
doing something. But then, after an hour or so, that's
Fine.
phone down, turn
Yeah.
around, because also I want to be present for my children. So it's great being a business owner, and the pressures that come with it mean that you are sometimes, 24/7, because you are your own boss. But at the
Yeah.
same breath, you've got to strike a balance where you can be able to immerse yourself and really be present and enjoy it
Yeah.
too. So I completely hear you.
Absolutely. Do you know what I think is also it's a behavior that we've had for as long as travel has existed, right? But you hit the nail on the head. Before it used to be disposable cameras or digital cameras, and you wouldn't have to think about processing all the content until you get home, right? That's a get home problem. Whereas now the same behavior exists. We want to share our pictures, we want to capture everything, but it's all immediate. It's not like you have to wait to come home, take your film to Boots and get it processed. God, I'm showing my age now. That habit, that behavior, it's always been there. If cast your mind back to probably like some of your early holidays, it's always been there. It's just the way we share is changed. And so even that, I sometimes say to my husband, yes, it would be nice to share this right now, but actually I don't need to. People are going to be waiting for content when you get back. It doesn't have to be here and now. And I think I'm learning that as well. No one cares whether I posted whilst I was there or a week later as a throwback. No one cares.
You're so
Really,
right.
no one cares.
Absolutely so right. Could I ask you what's harder to communicate online than people realize?
I think it is authenticity and your personality, right? So I'm one of them. I'm very vocal, as you can see when I talk. My body language comes through. I like building a rapport with people, and I just have never been able to do that as well on social. The exception being LinkedIn, which is so weird, but I think that's because it's again, everyone on LinkedIn are colleagues who have always rooted for me, who have always been there. There's something so much more personal about LinkedIn. Whereas when you're trying to present yourself authentically, but through a brand, it's really hard to do because people don't see the real me. They're seeing this sort of professional persona, if you like.
Curated. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas I am quite filterless, not I don't mean image-wise, I mean, like, when I speak, I just say what I'm thinking, and I'm very
Love this.
honest, and I'm a bit authentic, and I think it's probably like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it, but the point is, I can't be like that on social media. Instead, I'm like, "How does this come across? Does this come across as too pushy? Is it too salesy? And is it too braggy?" I worry about that a lot, It's really tough. Yeah. I think that's my biggest challenge with social. And I'm hoping that I'll get better with it. And I'm also hoping I'll find what's right for me. So I love writing, for example, love writing.
Yeah.
I've got a Substack account for tailored retreats. Do I use it? No. Should I use it? Maybe. So I think 2026 is probably more of a year of exploration for me in terms of social. But yeah, there's so much out there already. I
There
don't want
is.
to add to the noise unless it's valuable.
I'm looking forward anyway. It does sound really positive. So with niching brings clarity, but it
Yeah.
also brings new challenges. So I'm going to ask you, if you could wave a magic wand and remove one challenge you're currently facing in growing tailored retreats,
Yeah.
what would it be? Just for some ideas like education, visibility, time, systems, or something completely different.
I mean, all of the above would be my answer. But no, if I had to pick one thing, it is visibility. Wellness has boomed, especially wellness travel has boomed in the last sort of year.
Yeah.
And when I started out, there were probably like a handful of wellness travel brands, less than a
Okay.
handful, that came to mind. Now they're popping up left, right, and center. And so trying to get visibility when there's already so much noise, that's tough. And especially when you've gone from selling everything, or I've gone from selling everything to go, right, I'm going to focus on this niche. That takes a hit on one's profit. That is going to hurt my budgets. Not my budget, sorry, my profits. And it's tough because if I had more visibility, I know I'd be able to convert more. But how do you get that visibility when you've relied on your natural network your whole time? Which is why now I'm exploring how much more I can do across social, other forms of advertising that I might not have explored as much. But
Yeah.
I'm going to be really honest now. I dip my toe back into the corporate marketing world when I have to. So I love the fact that I can, I work so hard to build this network and have an established career. So it's really nice that every now and then when I'm a little bit worried about income from the travel business, or I sometimes get fatigued by it as well, because you come off the end of summer, for example, and it has been stressful because there's been like natural disasters left, right, and center, airline cock ups left, right, and center. And sometimes I'm like, right, I just want like a couple of months of respite where I'm not feeling that pressure of having to, service every inquiry. And I do. I go back to the corporate world and I will take on a contract or, a bit of part-time work, for example. And it just gives me that peace of mind of going, right, at least income wise, I've got another income stream. And then it
Yeah.
allows me to focus on the niche without having to go back to selling everything. So yeah,
Hear that.
visibility would help massively. But for now, I'm so fortunate that I do get to just go, right, I'm gonna take on some contract work in the meantime
Yeah.
whilst things pick up.
Variety is the spice of life. You do
I
know that,
think
right?
so. Because you were on a
Definitely.
similar journey, right? You went from corporate to
Absolutely. So it's the same for me. Like I can, take on projects here, there, and
nice.
thereabouts. I'm not going back to the corporate world
Yeah,
for me personally. But again, it's like we're not out there to prove ourselves to anyone.
no,
Everything I do internally fits with me. It's
love
not
that.
it's that person thing. What's that person? I
Yeah,
can in which direction I have to go
love that.
as long as it aligns with me and where I
Yeah,
want to go with my business and with my future. And especially with raising, two young
yep,
boys, I just want to make sure that it's balanced. And
love
that's why
that
I kind of love travel. I do feel like it gives that flexibility. It
massively.
doesn't always bring the monetary value that people are looking for. That's why you've got to be so connected to your why in this
Yeah,
business, in the travel space. And everybody I've spoken to, they've all got strong whys. They genuinely believe and
yeah,
love what they're doing. So when the profit's not there, or when business inquiries aren't coming in, or they're not converting, doesn't come forward, they know exactly why they're doing the business and what they stand for. And
yeah.
despite your challenges, I've just found that you're incredibly positive and forward looking. And that's really stood out to me, even from our pre-podcast call. So it really excites me to see where it's going
Oh,
to go for you, honestly. So what would
thanks.
you say excites you the most about the future of wellness retreats and like experimental travel in the UK and abroad?
I think it's a great question. The first thing is that it's quite selfish, that satisfaction I get from when clients are contacting me 6 months coming back from retreat going, I'm still on my path, I'm still sticking to what I've learned. And it's knowing that it's not just meaningless or kind of mindless travel that I've sold, genuinely helped someone. I love that. I take a lot of pride in that. So I'm hoping to see more of that. Clients who see the benefits, the health benefits of travel. And it doesn't even have to be on a tailored wellness retreat, for example. It could just be travel that is more nature based, because nature in itself and immersing yourself in nature, I think it does wonders for wellness. And so I'm hoping there'll be so much more of that, and just more of my clients who have been on more traditional fly and flocks will be doing more of that. And family wellness travel, I'm really excited about that. I don't know if you find this with two little ones, but like we were talking about earlier, it's so easy to have that fly and flock sort of resort trip because it's just stress free. And let's face it, every now and then you just want to switch off. You don't want to be thinking about planning your next trip and what time's the transfer come in, and like having to be the organizer on holiday. That can be quite draining. But I realized after my son turned about 5 that he thought holidays were just that. Like, you go to a resort and you stay there and you eat lots and you go in and out of the pool and then that's it. And I was like, no, I'm a travel agent. I cannot let you think that that is what going abroad is all about. Like, you need to immerse yourself in all these places. And we started doing like these waterfall hikes. There's a couple of amazing spots just like outside, an hour outside of Valencia, for example, an hour outside of Porto. So we started doing these sort of city breaks combined with nature trips, combined with a bit of that sort of resort chill time as well. And I remember the first time he did this waterfall hike, and I've just never seen this guy so excited before, like more excited than
No,
Switch, probably more excited than Christmas Day. Like, he was just feet off, like, strip down, jumping at the bottom of the waterfall, going off with this tour guide, like forgetting about his mum and dad, which is a bit worrying now that I think about it. But the point was, it was just so nice to see this side of him that we hadn't seen. And now I think he's seeing a different side to travel as well. And he appreciates it more. And I'm hoping to instill more of that in my clients. And he doesn't always like it, I'll be really honest. Like, so we went to Milan in October half term, and we saw the lakes, which he really liked because he appreciates sort of just natural beauty. And even, I'm just going to sort of digress for a second. I made a point of Milan in autumn because it struggles with over tourism in summer. It's so packed, and Como is not enjoyable. Doing it in autumn was amazing.
yeah,
So over. And I remember by about day 3, he said, Mummy, these city breaks can be a bit boring when you're just seeing building after building and cathedral after cathedral. And I said, yes, but did you like the lakes? And he's like, yeah, they were stunning. And I said, and I've got a surprise for you later tonight. And we took him to watch an Inter Milan Fiorentina game at San Siro.
oh,
Best holiday ever at the end of it. And it was teaching him as well that travel isn't all, love every minute of it, but that's the whole point. You're discovering, what do you like? And I think that's what I'm hoping to teach or to show more of my clients next year.
that's
Excited.
incredible.
Really, really
I
excited.
love that. I love that story. Well, listen, thank you so much. For anyone who is listening, who's running a travel business, especially those considering niching down, what's the one piece of advice you'd share based on your journey so far?
So you can still be niche, but that niche has probably so many different avenues to it.
Okay.
So listen out for them and try. I have had things that I have tried that have not gone well. I've tried to host my own retreats. That did not go well. But I'm so glad I have tried it, because the hardest thing to get over is regret. So I'd rather try it not work, than go, I wonder what would have happened. And then I've tried other things which have worked treats. So yeah,
Trial
listen
and error.
and try. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much,
Thank
Amisha.
you.
This has been such a refreshing conversation. You've shared some really thoughtful insights around trust and positioning, and why travel businesses need to think beyond visibility alone.
Yeah.
So some of the things really stood out for me. I might actually have some ideas and resources that can support you. So I'd love
Amazing.
to share them maybe in the new year if that's
That'd be
helpful.
great. Thank you.
And so thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody for tuning in to the Travel Leaders podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and subscribe. And lastly, where can people hear about you?
So the best place is on social media, ironically. So, yes, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Substack. So it's at Tailored Retreats is my handle. My website's www.tailoredretreats.com. And for those who want to meet me in person, I'm going to be at the Mind, Body, Soul Experience at Alexandra Palace in London from the 16th to the 18th of October this year. So come and find me in person. I'm doing a talk about some of the benefits of wellness travel. Or if you just want to say hello, pop up and a little chat for a coffee sometime as well, anytime.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Well,
Thanks
thanks.
for your time. Take care.